That's why we got a new tight end coach at South Carolina. And before we get into all that, I thought there was some really interesting comments here from Shane Beamer on a couple of subjects, but on the NIL and how that is becoming just a bigger and bigger topic with basically every recruit that they get on campus. Let's start with that one and how that's just becoming a bigger deal with every recruit on campus. So let's kick it over to Shane Beamer on NIL.
But as far as NIL stuff, I know that's something that's come up a little bit more, at least over the last year, and now that you guys have had kind of a year with it a little bit, I guess, how is that something that y'all are incorporating into recruiting, if at all? How much are you guys allowed to do with it, and what's sort of that been like? I know it's a little bit of a moving target with it some.
Yeah, no, it is. It's certainly changing, and a lot more on the minds of the young men that we recruit now compared to last year at this time. So we're not going to bury our head in the sand and pretend like it's not an aspect that young men are looking at. I mean, they're bringing it up to us in conversations, and we tell them, like we tell every prospect, that I believe that at the University of South Carolina we're as well situated as any program out there for them to be able to capitalize on opportunities because of this fan base, because we're the capital of South Carolina, because we don't compete with other pro sports, because in this state we're in the SEC, on and on and on and on and on. And we certainly can't, arrange deals and things like that as well. But we're certainly trying to make our young men that we're recruiting aware of the possibilities that are here and what, some of our guys have done and what may be coming and things like that as well. I'm thankful for Chance Miller and Hillary Cox and our administration that are on the forefront of it and doing a great job of, one, educating, our student athletes, but two, constantly trying to stay one step ahead and put our guys in the best position to be able to, capitalize on opportunities while they're here in college.
And wouldn't you know it, this timing's great because here on Monday, South Carolina made it official. They have started a partnership. You buy a player's jersey, let's say DeCarrion Joyner, he's going to get a percentage of those jersey sales now. Now, this is not specifically unique to South Carolina. There's a couple other SEC schools that have done this. LSU, I believe, was the first. I think Alabama maybe jumped in. There's a couple others, and I would think before long they're all going to do it this way. But it's great to see that you've got in this day and age, you got to do everything possible to get this NIL flowing to the players, because if you don't, you're going to get left behind. And in the SEC, you just can't afford to do that. So this is something that as time goes on, we're all experiencing this basically at the same time. There is no blueprint. We'll see, there's always, of course, the allegations there at A&M, how much they're spending. And then I saw this article in The Athletic by David Ubben saying there's a Tennessee collective trying to raise $20-25 million per year for NIL purposes. And, they didn't specify just recruiting, but clearly that's what they're talking about, as well as star players like a Hendon Hooker, hooking up a guy like that decided to return to school. So this is on the minds of every college program in the country that has aspirations of winning conference and national championships. So it's good to see that Shane Beamer is addressing this, and this is something that his program is considering, because if not, they're going to get left behind. Now, on the topic of adding an assistant coach, Shane Beamer was also asked about making South Carolina a destination not only for coaches, which is obviously important and paramount to the conversation here, but South Carolina's really killed it in the transfer portal, and they've done so in high school recruiting. Not to knock some of the players they've gotten, but the first class, this was Shane Beamer and company had just a handful of days, I believe, if memory serves, before the early signing period, so you couldn't do much work there. And then, this last class was, I think, pretty, it wasn't a bad class by any means, but it was in the lower tier in the SEC. Now you factor in the transfers, they're killing it in the transfer portal. So Shane Beamer asked about making this a destination for players, transfers, and coaches. This may be the highlight of what he had to share on Monday.
Hey, Shane, are you trying to kind of establish the program as a destination place for transfers, or do you think you've kind of already done that with this latest class of transfers? And if so, how important is that to you?
I would like to establish this as a destination place for any young man that wants to come and get an elite education and play football at the highest level in college athletics in the SEC. And I think that the program that we have here and the environment that we've created, people are seeing that you can come here and you can have a great experience as a student athlete, period, whether you're coming from another college or whether you're coming from the high school ranks. And in regards to the transfers specifically, Gene, I think it all depends on the experience that the guys before you had. And certainly the guys that we brought in as transfers this year had a great experience and played meaningful snaps for us, whether it be our starting quarterback with Jason Brown or David Spalding and Carlin Patel, who were our starting nickels the entire season, and guys that did a great job on special teams like Debo Williams, and on and on and on and on with the guys that we brought in. So if you look at every transfer that we brought in last year, you don't look at any of them and say, well, we missed on that guy. Knock on wood. I mean, we did a great job of hitting on all of them. And then those transfers that came in here this year, the new ones, I think they saw what those guys did last year and certainly saw that, guys can come in here and have a great experience. And this is an environment that a lot of guys want to be a part of. And I want that to be the case for everyone, because we always want to start with the high school recruiting and always will. But certainly every year you're going to have to utilize the transfer portal, some years more than others.
Hey, Shane, you mentioned earlier how you're trying to build South Carolina into a destination that all players want to come play at. But I feel like also you mentioned that assistant coaches this offseason specifically have had a lot of chances and offers to leave but have chosen to stay.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Jody could speak to this also, but I'm curious from your vantage point as the head coach, what are some of the things that you're doing to try to make this a destination for coaches that want to come and coach here?
Good question. One, I think there's a lot that I don't have to do. South Carolina's a great state to live in. Columbia's a great place to live in. And you've got great resources and all the things that I talk about that we have to recruit student athletes here. It's the same thing for us as coaches to give us a chance to be successful. And so that's a fun part of it. You're in the SEC, so there's a lot of reasons that coaches want to come here naturally. And then I think for me personally, the environment that I try and create in here, it's demanding and it's hard work, and there's a lot of accountability for the players and amongst the coaching staff as well. But try and treat people right, and I'm not a guy that's going to be, treating people like dogs, during the week and stuff like that. I mean, I've been an assistant coach for 22 years before I became a head coach, and I try not to forget what it was like to be an assistant coach. But a place where they know their families are always welcome and around, and I want the families to be a part of it. This profession's really hard, and there's a lot of time demands because of it. So I want our families to be able to come up here, during the week and feel comfortable and be involved with the players, and, hold the assistant coaches accountable, but also give them the freedom to do their jobs. I don't want to be just a micromanager on every single thing and telling Jody how to coach the tight ends or telling Clayton White how to coach the linebackers. Hire good people, let them coach, let them do their jobs, work hard, try and have a lot of fun doing it. And then at the end of the day, just treat people right. And then for me, just trying to be consistent with these guys day in, day out, where they know what they're getting from me, if that makes sense.
Now, the guy that I can't get enough of, and if you've been following me on Twitter, you see the more I watch this guy, the more I think he's legit. Spencer Rattler, of course, we see the stats. We know the hype. Former 5-star, former Oklahoma starting quarterback. Many of us mocked the preseason Heisman favorites for him at Oklahoma. Now we've seen those transfer over to South Carolina. I'm not ready to buy into all that. I'm not sitting here saying he's going to win the Heisman. He's the greatest quarterback in the country. But based on what I've seen, I think it's legitimate to say Spencer Rattler in conversation for the SEC East best quarterback. Now, I'm giving that nod to Hendon Hooker. You could certainly make the case Stetson Bennett, given what he's done, just won a national championship with the Georgia Bulldogs, of course. Got to put him in the conversation. Will Levis, he's certainly helped turn Kentucky's offense around. We're going to get to that in a moment. But as things stand right now, based on what I've seen, I think I'd take Spencer Rattler number 2 in the East among all quarterbacks, behind only Hendon Hooker. That just speaks to, what a coup this was for the Gamecocks, who when they went into last season, they were starting a freaking GA at quarterback. And when they were ended the season, they had to start former FCS quarterback from St. Francis. And then in the bowl game, they had to start a receiver. I mean, we're talking a calamity of the quarterback situation down there in Columbia to now getting a legit elite quarterback. People in Columbia are fired up for a reason, and I think they've got a damn good reason to be fired up, and it's because Spencer Rattler is on their squad. Now, again, he's got to fix the issues that he had at Oklahoma, and if he can do that, it's not absurd to think South Carolina can be a contender in the East. And during Monday's presser, Shane Beamer was asked about Spencer Rattler, and really bizarre off-the-wall question. Someone asked about Spencer Rattler's dad and social media posts, and I said the previous thing was maybe Beamer's highlight, but I think this is pure authentic Beamer here. We've seen this since his time at South Carolina. He kind of just really went off on the fact that this question was even asked.
What have you seen from Spencer Rattler, both in terms of what have you been able to see in the weight room and on the field, and also his interaction with the players in the offensive room? And secondly, his dad is pretty active in social media. It appears, good and bad stuff. What's your relationship with him, and is that something you got to kind of keep an eye on?
Good and bad, those are your words. I mean, some people may not think I don't know what he's doing on social media, but I don't think it's much of anything. I think his dad's a hell of a person, and I love his dad. He's a great family. Spencer's very, 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 very grounded, and and a great young man. Looking forward to you guys getting to know him. That's what I know about him, and he's done a great job of coming into this program and immersing himself within the team and being a great teammate.
Shane, I guess last Friday the Board of Trustees approved a bunch of contracts and enhancements and raises for some of your guys. I guess it was important to you to have that done for them. And also, I got to ask, was there anything we can read into the people who were not?
But really, we're asking about dads of players, Phil? I mean, come on, man. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I got 119 dads and moms. Are we going to comment on what all of them are putting on social media? Go ahead.
Now, loyal listeners of the show know Shade and I, we love to poke fun at these announcers when, anytime there's a big play, quarterback, of course, they get all the credit in the world. Let's go check out the parent cam, how the parents reacting to a touchdown or an interception or a benching, what have you. And we always joke, well, hell, I mean, there's 10 other players on the field. Why aren't we going to the left guard's family? Where are they at? The receiver that made the great play, where's his mom and dad at? Now we're analyzing social media posts from quarterbacks, parents. I mean, this shit it's getting out of hand, and I'm glad Shane Beamer called it out because, hey, credit, I think this guy's, they call him Tiger Phil down there in Columbia, so maybe he was looking for this type of reaction down there, but yeah, I don't know. I can't get on board with asking a head coach about, his quarterback's dad's social media post because I don't know what in the hell Shane Beamer is even supposed to say in a setting like this when asked something like that. Now, again, this Monday presser was all about introducing new tight ends coach Jody Wright, who, again, he's got NFL experience. He's got SEC experience at several stops here. Now he's coming back to the college game to coach tight ends for the Gamecocks. And I thought two things in particular stood out for Jody Wright. He was asked about working for Nick Saban and Shane Beamer. And, he's not necessarily comparing the two of them, but he does kind of mention, what traits those guys have in common. And then, of course, this is not unique to South Carolina. This is unique to basically every fan base. They all want the ball thrown to the tight end more. And Jody Wright, he's your new tight ends coach. What's he think of that? I thought this was the perfect question to ask the South Carolina new tight end coach.
Yeah, you had the opportunity, as you alluded to, being able to coach with Shane a little bit when he was a little bit younger at Mississippi State, and you've had an opportunity to coach for one of the best college coaches of all time, in Nick Saban. Being able to see a young Shane and now seeing him now and being able to work with a guy like that, what have you noticed in terms of some of the qualities he's grown with and maybe some similarities he's kind of showed? I know it's tough to compare to Nick Saban, but trying to just see what he's been able to do in terms of creating his own program here.
Yeah. Like I said, Coach Saban, I wouldn't be where I am today without, his influence, and so much I learned from him. And I always judge people. I always say, I always want to work for people that you would want your son to play for, and I would, love for my son, hopefully, if he ever played college football, to play for Coach Beamer. Same way with Coach Saban. You want your son because you know how much they're going to make them better people, better football players all the way around. And I think all coaches have different styles. I think, Coach Saban never tried to emulate anybody and was confident in the way he did things. But I think they're both such great, understanding basically their staffs, their players. Both are really, really into recruiting and understand the aspect of that. I think they're both great evaluators of talent, understanding what it takes to play at the highest level of college football. And also I think both of them do a great job of understanding what guys will come in and fit. I hadn't been here long, but it sounds like, a lot of the guys and just the meetings we've had just about every day, Shane's talking to us about recruiting, but about how guys are going to fit into the puzzle. So I think both of them are just kind of proactive guys. They're always trying to figure out how can I make this football program better, improving the roster, or if it's something like nutritionists, or if it's anything that's going to touch a football player or make them better. They're both, I think, forward thinkers and really great leaders.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much you've read up on the Gamecock fan base, but there's a pretty vocal contingent that has some strong feelings about the tight end being utilized in the passing game. I was just curious, in your talks with Marcus, how do you vision, or what is your vision, I guess, for this position group, and how would you like to see them used in this offense this year?
Yeah, well, I told Marcus we want to get them wide open and catch touchdowns and make their coach look good. So we're working on those plays. But no, we've got some really, really talented guys. Jaheim Bell, really talented guy, and Trey Kenyon, so there's really talented guys, and, Austin, and a lot of guys, they'll be coming here later. But I definitely think Marcus has got a good plan to use all, whether it's receivers, tight ends, running backs, we're really excited about, some different players with quarterback and a lot of different positions we think could even grow them from last year, watching tape from last year. And like I told him the other day, the key to being a good coach is get good players and manage them. So I told him, just make me look smart. So we'll be in good shape.
All right, so I hope you picked it up from those clips there. But, Jody Wright seems like quite the jovial guy. He sounds like he's pretty fired up for this opportunity. So, we'll have to see how that goes for the Gamecocks. But, again, this is a guy, they hired him over, I don't know how accurate it was, but it was being reported that Tim Brewster, longtime, excellent tight end coach and recruiter, you're going to hire this guy over him. You got to make sure you're hiring the right guy. And, we're not judging anything based on a press conference, but clearly we're getting a guy that's fired up to be here instead of, Tim Brewster, for as great as he is. And I do think he's probably the best tight ends coach in recent SEC history. The guy's kind of a nomad. He jumps from job to job. And, hey, if nothing else, I think South Carolina got you a guy here that is going to stay committed to South Carolina, stay committed to Shane Beamer, unless maybe an NFL job or an offensive coordinator type role comes available to him. So, we'll see how this works out for the Gamecocks.